Hey guys, I'm Christy, and today we're going to be talking about some of my favorite fairy tales. So if you've seen any of my other videos, you know that I love fairy tale retellings. I haven't read all the fairy tale retellings in the world, but I have read a lot. So I just wanted to give you some of my favorites, some of my favorite authors, my favorite series, my favorite stories. That way, if you're looking to get into the genre of fairy tale retellings, this is a good place to start. So the very first fairy tale retelling I ever read was from Melanie Cellier, The Princess Companion. And while that story is exquisite and I love it, my absolute favorite from hers is A Tale of Beast and Beauty. I was shocked at how much I loved this familiar story. Her spin on it was just exquisite. It was so different, it was so captivating. I remember telling my family about this because I ended up staying up till maybe like 1 o'clock in the morning reading it. The backstory behind these characters, especially the Beast, was so intriguing. There was a little bit of mystery behind it. I wasn't quite sure why he was the way he was and sort of what happened in his past. And it was just completely intriguing. It was so captivating how she revealed it bit by bit through the story. And of course there was their love story. This guy was horrible. And just watching the change and the progression of their romance, I think was just what made it so so great. Not only that, but she had the most beautiful prose, the most beautiful writing in the story. It was just, it was a delight to read. So the only thing about this story is that it's actually the second in a series, Dance of Silver and Shadow, which is actually a 12 Dancing Princesses retelling. And it was also excellent. But like I said, I just wanted to tell you which one was my favorite of all of Melanie's books, and this is the one. The White Slipper by Brittany Fichter. I've actually only read 2 of Brittany's books, Before Beauty and obviously The White Slipper. And the reason I have not read more of her books is because I'm literally waiting for her to get new covers. She announced that she would be recovering all the fairy tales of her classical kingdoms this summer, and so I'm literally just waiting for that to happen so that I can snatch them up. I really enjoyed this story, so if you, again, like Beauty and the Beast retellings, you should definitely pick this one up. But this one, I was chatting with Sarah from Sarah's Tangled Tales, and we were just talking about how much we love Elliot in this story, and I was like, I need to talk about this book more because it really was something special. I just think the way she did the romance and the story, it was a childhood friends to more, but it wasn't what you expect. And once you get into the story, I mean, I read this in one day. It's a novella, and it was so romantic and swoony. I don't want to give it away. If you like sweet romance, this story will capture you right away, and I definitely recommend The White Slipper. So I just want to highlight this whole series actually by Emily Deddy. I'm not really sure how you say her name, but this world that she created was really interesting and really fun. Now, my favorite story out of the 3 books is Thorn of Rose, another Beauty and the Beast retelling. I just really connected with these characters. I like the spin that she put on it. This girl, the main character, is very beautiful. Obviously, she's Belle. But in her life, she was always being treated differently because of her beauty, and she had like all these men trying to come up to her, and people didn't really want to know her for her. She saw it as like a disadvantage sort of thing. And the Beast obviously starts to fall for her, and he keeps squinting his eyes, and she thinks that it's because she's so beautiful. But then she finds out that he's basically blind and he can't see her. So that take on the story, I just absolutely loved it. It was so different, and it made the love story that much better and that much more beautiful. If you like fairy tales, I definitely recommend this series, this whole series. I thought all of the books were excellent. This one was my favorite. All of the books just made me feel so happy. It's really a good time reading all these books. Crimson Claws by Abigail Manning, which is a Little Red Riding Hood retelling. This author is new to me this year, and I really like her stories. I like the world she built. There was so much depth to this story. I really like how clever the magic system was. This follows a girl in a place called the Ruby Realm, and her father has been missing for 7 years because he's been working with these really bad guys. They're basically terrorists. They call themselves the Beasts and they basically go around with a pack of wolves, and everything kind of goes crazy one day when she gets kidnapped by them. And of course there's romance, and I really love the romantic interest. He was just a really great guy, and I loved the playful banter they had back and forth. These two were very quirky characters, lots of good chemistry together. So if you like Little Red Riding Hood retellings, then I definitely recommend Crimson Claws. Traitor's Mask by Kenley Davidson. This book was so suspenseful. Now, at the same time, I have to warn you, the beginning, it does take a little bit of time to warm up to it, to kind of get the setting, the characters in place. It's really important. She's setting things up for the story. But once you hit the 50% mark, I did not want to put this book down. This seriously was one of the best Cinderella retellings I have ever read. It was that suspenseful, it was that good. The romance was just perfect. So if you like Cinderella retellings, definitely pick this one up. Becoming Hook by Mary Meckham. This was my first book by this author, and I really enjoyed it. I thought this book was everything a fairy tale should be, even though it's a little bit different from what you may be used to, because Peter Pan is the villain in this story, and let me tell you, he is very evil. So just be prepared for that. And Hook is like this handsome, wonderful, upstanding guy, and we find out this completely different story about him and how he became Hook in the first place and kind of what went on behind the scenes. And so this story was just a lot of fun. It was very intriguing. So if you like Peter Pan retellings and would like to explore a story with a little bit of a different twist, then I definitely recommend Becoming Hook. Song of Ebony by Deborah Grace White. I loved this story. I loved the setting. It's in the jungle, and the kingdom is actually in tree houses because the magic is too dangerous for people to walk around on the jungle floor. So they have to live up in these tree houses, and it just made for such an exciting story. And I just loved all the characters and just how crazy the mother was. And there was so much going on in this story with the prince that comes to rescue her. And the dwarves in the story are actually these little elves. And it's just a really great time. There's even an ocelot in the story that is very useful and kind of helps them. So if you like Snow White retellings, I definitely recommend Song of Ebony. This is the first in a series, and I have the second one, Song of the Sea, which is a Little Mermaid retelling. So I can't wait to read that one as well. Married at Sunrise by Layla Humphreys. This is a King Thrushbeard retelling, and it definitely had Pirates of the Caribbean vibes, kind of a Moana thing going on too. In some of my other videos, I mentioned Kidnapped at Dusk, which is another Little Red Riding Hood retelling, and I talked about how much I loved this one, and this did not disappoint. This one was kind of like a marriage of convenience times enemies to lovers trope. So you can just imagine the tension in the relationship and what was going on. And both of them have these secrets that they're hiding from each other, and then there's like a bigger plot going on outside of their relationship with like this war starting and pirates and things like that. So I mean, this was an adventure, and I did not want to put it down. It was so good. I immediately ordered the next one in the series the next day. It's called Hidden at Starshine. And I would order the third one, Stolen at Appenglow, but at the time of this video, it hasn't released yet. So I definitely want to pick it up as soon as possible though. And last but not least, I have another series, A.G. Marshall. wrote the Fairytale Adventure books, and this one was really good. It was really funny. It was a Princess and the Pea retelling, and I definitely recommend starting with this one because it kind of shows all the different princesses around the kingdoms. This one was another level. This was hilarious. I laughed out loud so much. Princess of Secrets is a Princess and the Frog retelling, and the little frog here is hilarious, and the things he says and the things he does are just laugh out loud funny, and the adventures they go on and the way they end up falling in love is while he's still a frog is just so adorable, so funny. I love this book. This one was my absolute favorite. This book was so good that I was actually mad at it. And here's why. Because I had this plan. I read this book last year, and I had this plan that I was going to start it about a week before I went to the beach. So that way I could get into the beach mindset, you know, the ocean and everything. And I would start it, and I would read it kind of slow, and then I would finish it while I was at the beach. So that was my plan. I started this a week before I went to the beach, and I finished it in 2 days, and this book is really thick. I stayed up till 2 in the morning, 2 nights in a row, trying to finish this book because the only time I could read was at night. It was just so captivating. The love story, the humor, best Little Mermaid retelling I have ever read so far. I highly recommend it. It was just exquisite. It was just different enough from the story that I knew that it just kept me reading. And I loved the love interest, and the way she had them fall in love was just perfect. It was just so good. I cannot recommend this book enough. So if you like Little Mermaid retellings, this one should be at the top of your list. It is amazing. A.G. Marshall, fantastic author. Definitely check her series out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!